So it's our first upload in I think about 6 or 7 months since we did our last one, where we did the tour of Casa Lux. So I figured we'd just do kind of like a mini podcast and give like a life update. Also, how Casa Lux is doing, our last villa that we renovated, and also another exciting announcement that we want to are starting. So yeah, we can start with kind of our life update, what we're doing now, where we're at. We actually moved to the U.S. about, when did we move? July, right after we finished that project.
So August.
August, we came to the U.S. Uh, Bought a house here, and yeah, we've been here for the last 6 months. We went to Rio for about a month, and yeah, kind of our long-term plan with this is have a home base here in the U.S. and then, travel for maybe some months of the year, whenever we need to for work and for business. And yeah, just use the U.S. as a home base. I don't want to disclose the location, exact location. Don't want the narcos to find out where I am. Uh, but we're somewhere in the Midwest. We picked somewhere that was affordable. Also, I love the Midwest. I'm from Iowa originally, so I wanted to come back somewhere in the Midwest where there's nice people, honest people. Um, and yeah, so far it's been a great life decision for us to finally have somewhere that's like stable, permanent. Before we were moving around from, Airbnbs month to month, and it just got to be a lot. And we kind of missed having like a home base, somewhere to put your
Yeah.
things. And we had that for some time in Colombia. We were doing like longer term rentals, apartments for like a year. But we just kind of got tired of living in Colombia. I mean, I think still Colombia is great to visit, invest. It's still a gold mine for investing. But to live, it can be challenging, I would
Yeah.
say, to say the least. Very challenging. Just a lot of the cultural differences. Another thing is like, the main thing for me was the noise. No matter where you go, it seems like there's noise in that city, and we're both light sleepers, so I would say we're getting sleep like 50% of the nights we would like actually
Yeah.
sleep. The other nights, we're kind of off and on. So yeah, I mean, for me, if we're not sleeping, like it's super hard to be productive. Since we moved here, we've been super productive. Um, and yeah, I think you've enjoyed living here also.
Yeah, I think it's been better for sure. Like not only, I mean, we can sleep better and then everything's better.
Yeah.
Our main problem was not sleeping. Even like we were looking for these apartments, super
Hmm.
secluded. We even moved to Retiro for a year,
Yeah.
and we just couldn't escape the noise. And like when you sleep good, then our relationship has improved.
Hmm.
Our moods, our working has been way better, working out, everything. So everything in our lives has improved.
Yeah, definitely. When it comes to like health and like being productive, like sleep is the number one thing. If you don't get sleep, uh, you can have the best diet, but if you don't sleep well,
Yeah.
everything else in life is really hard. So yeah, that was like a huge factor in why we wanted to move. Also, I think just as you get older, I mean, I still think like if you're in your 20s, and you have remote work or you just want a different lifestyle, definitely moving somewhere abroad. Doesn't have to be Colombia or Medellin. Anywhere in abroad, like Europe, South America, a lot of great places
Asia.
like Buenos Aires, Rio, uh, is a great thing to do when you're young. It's just we kind of got a little bit older, so I mean, I think after I turned 30, I really couldn't stand a lot of the things that Colombia has, and yeah, it was a long time in the making. Last couple of years, we're kind of thinking about doing something like this, and finally we did it, and is a great decision.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And also having a home base because we were traveling too, but we just had like we just didn't have anywhere like to go back. And this time
Yeah.
when we went to Rio, it was really nice just knowing that we had somewhere to go back, like that we have had a place with our stuff. Like before we were just traveling and we just had a suitcase and we were moving around everywhere.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I mean that's a huge thing is like not having like a base you feel like you don't have roots, where like you're rootless and uh yes, I don't know how to describe it, but it's kind of a not great way to live. I don't know, you just feel it kind of deep down that you don't have
yeah.
uh your roots somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. Even though being able to travel and have the freedom to do it, it's a blessing. At the end, it just doesn't feel right when you do it like for too long.
Yeah, and I would say again, you can get away with it in your 20s, do it for, a couple of years. I would say that's a great thing to do in life. Get that, out of your way when you're young. Do that in your 20s for a couple of years, see the world. But definitely, after a certain amount of time, it really starts to wear on you. And yeah, that's why we decided to move. And yeah, I mean, a lot of people think the U.S. is like really expensive. That's why like a lot of people go to Colombia, which I understand. You can get an apartment there for pretty cheap, but if you choose cities like outside the main cities in the U.S. actually I feel like is almost the same price as Colombia. Some things and some things are more expensive like groceries.
Yeah,
Um,
going out.
you have to have a car, but overall I feel like it's really not too much more expensive. Obviously, if you live in Miami, LA, it's going to be way more expensive. But I think a lot of people don't know about the other cities in the U.S., which are also really great. I actually prefer them to. I don't like the big cities like Miami and L.A. Like too many fake people and yeah. So I mean, a lot of people like don't know about some of these smaller cities, which are really great. I mean, I feel like we found like a gem where we're at now.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And a lot of places too in the US are developing a lot and
Yeah,
growing. So that's also an opportunity for business too.
yeah, and that's also why we wanted to move here. We're doing a project uh, in the U.S., which we can't disclose too much about that. That's I want to kind of keep that secret a little bit. But yeah, we're starting a project. Yeah, again, I don't want to disclose the location in the U.S. somewhere. It's going to be a vacation rental, development, and we'll talk about that more later on in the video. I think we can talk about how our last villa is doing.
Oh yeah.
Since our last video was us giving a tour of that place, and I said I would give like an update numbers wise, how it's doing. We can kind of go into that a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's been going really well. Um, I don't want to go too much into the numbers, but I will say that we're planning to pay off that like what we spent on the house and so what we spent to buy the house, what we spent to remodel the house and on construction, all those costs. We're expecting to pay that off in 3 years and maybe even sooner, depending on how much we can kind of increase our rates a little bit by little as time goes on. But yeah, we're projecting to pay that off in 3 years, which I think is really, really good.
Yeah.
Uh, when you consider, like, we were looking at doing projects in other parts of the world, like Bali, anywhere in Asia, you cannot own the land. You have to do leasehold. I think there might be some ways around it, but I would say 99% of people that are doing villa construction projects in Bali or anywhere in Asia, it's leasehold. So you lease the land for 20, 30 years at a time. You build on that land, and most of the people that we follow, I did a lot of research on that. Like the top performing ones, they would pay off their investment to build that villa in 5 years, and you don't own the land. So at the end of that 20 or 30 years, you have to renegotiate the land price with the owner at current market rates. So obviously in that amount of time, it's going to go way up, and there's no guarantee that they're going to renew to you. They could say, no, we want more money than what you want to pay, and there's no guarantee that you're going to, get that renewed. So that's, one reason why we decided not to do anything there. Um, and also, kind of goes to show how lucrative Colombia can be
Yeah.
if you do it right. Uh, we're doing another project there, but also in the U.S. That's actually the one that I'm most excited about, and I think actually the numbers that we're projecting to do with that project are going to are already impressive numbers of what we're doing with Casa Luxe, paying that off in 3 years. I think it's going to make that look actually really small.
And I have a question for you because a lot of my clients that are investing in Colombia or people that wanna like invest there are asking me if it's still worth it to do it there in Medellin because you've seen that there's been like a really big growth on supply there. And of course, you're saying that you're starting this new project in the US. So, like, how are you still feeling about Colombia? What do you see like the market there? Is it still worth it?
Yeah, 100%. There was a slight dip last year. I would say it wasn't even a dip. They came out with official numbers actually a couple weeks ago after the new year, and it basically stayed the same from 23 to 24. I think Medellin got 1.4 million tourists, but definitely it's 100% still worth it. There's that article is actually really interesting, and it goes to show kind of what the future projections are supposed to be in Colombia and Medellin. 2025, they're expecting 1.8 million, so that's a pretty good increase. And in the next like 5, 10 years, they're planning some pretty significant airport renovations,
Yeah.
and they're expecting to, I think if I remember right, like double the amount of tourists that they can run through that airport in the next 5 years, I think.
Yeah.
And that's just with like some modifications. They're actually planning to do a longer term airport renovation and like building a whole new kind of like wing to that airport. And that's, I think, more like 10 plus years that will be done, and that would allow them to quadruple what is currently coming into Medellin. And long term too, I think Colombia, they're expecting to, last year they got 6.5 million, and then Petro, I think he wants to have that to 12 million within the next 5 to 10 years. So that's a double in tourism growth. Um, I mean, that's key when you research like any market. You want to make sure that the market is growing. This makes everything easier.
Yeah. And another thing is like the margins because being here in the US, everything it costs way more, labor is way more, and even like in this, we've been to like some meetings, some real estate meetings, short-term rental meetings with people here, and they always like are super shocked with our numbers because still
Yeah.
like the margins and what you can make there because just labor and material maybe it's
Yeah.
way cheaper.
I mean, that's with like traditional rentals, what we're wanting to do in the US. Um, it's different, and again, we're gonna pay back our initial investment. We're projecting to in like 2 years with that project. Um, but yeah, I guess when you compare like doing just like normal rentals, then yeah, the margins in Colombia are way way better, or they can be if you do it right.
And like, what do you think that sets you apart? Because we have all of these numbers, of course, of tourism growing there, but there's still a lot of supply too.
Yeah, I mean, but that's kind of a fallacy that markets can be like oversaturated. I mean, it's actually better if there's, it shows that that market actually works, that there's people doing it there, there's supply there. So that's kind of a fallacy. And actually, supply hasn't um, increased. Actually, that article goes into that too, that supply has gone down a little bit due to some of the rules that they put in place in Medellin and in Colombia towards short-term rentals.
Like, I also think that that's why you take a lot of time, like, deciding which projects you want to do, not only taking into account like the current situation, but also like future changes, not only in the market but in the law, because
Mhm.
you saw that we saw that they closed a lot of listings in Medellin, just because like a lot of like rules and stuff were not in place.
Mhm.
And so that's why for us it's super important that we pick the right investment, just because things can change so quick, laws can
Mhm.
change so quick, and you could be like
Yeah.
investing something that.
And that's the thing about Medellin is you have to make sure it's zoned in the right area. And there's still a lot of illegal properties that are being run that are not in the right zone. They're zoned as residential. And that's something that FICO has said that he wants to change in the next 2 or 3 years, is actually enforcing some of those laws. See, a lot of these could actually be coming off the market in the next 2 3 years with if FICO actually starts enforcing those laws, which is also why we started the investments company. Uh, Basically, we had a lot of people coming to us like saying, we want to invest in Colombia, we want to invest in Medellin. What do we do? How do we do it? Uh, but it's again really hard to. Not only you got to like make sure that it's zoned right, just going fresh off the boat. Like, say you've never been to Colombia, it's really hard to do. Like you're almost guaranteed to get taken advantage of. Um, and when I first went down there, I made all the mistakes. I got scammed. We got scammed many times. Um, so we thought it's just like a more efficient way of doing things versus like trying to give someone all the contacts and then having them go out and try to do it all themselves. And maybe they don't even want to move to Colombia. We just had it would be a more efficient way of everyone's time and capital to just start an investment company and let you guys in on projects that we're going to be doing, and basically we take care of everything from start to finish, um, from finding the property that's zoned right in the right location to design, so contractors for doing the renovation, designer, architect. That's the most important, but it's not the whole process. So, after you get that point, you have management and marketing, which it seems like always there's like someone goes and does a project there, and there's always one thing that they don't do, which makes them rank in like the bottom 50%. So we do everything pretty well, or I know actually we do everything, like we have some of the highest grossing Airbnbs in all of Colombia and Latin America. So I know we do every step of that process with precision and do everything right from the very get-go, from finding the property, design, putting in amenities that people want. That's where it starts, but it doesn't end there. So you also have management and marketing. Seems like management people always mess that up too with guest expectations. Seems like people are always getting bad reviews, and that again throws them in the bottom 50% of listings. And the dollar amount that you can make being in the even if you're in the top 20% versus if you're in the top 1% is so drastic. You can go from having like ours that we're gonna return that investment in 3 years, which is insane. And again, we own the land, so it's not like Bali where it's uh, 5 years and you don't even own the land. It's 3 years and we own everything. So yeah, even being in the top 1%, and I would say we're top 10 listings in all of South America easily. Uh, versus being in the top 20%, it could go from 3 year payoff period to 10, 15 year payoff period.
Yeah, not only that, but like from our experience and from my clients too, like most of the people, like they invest all of this money, and then something happens. Like they get scammed, they don't find the right people, and they just end up giving up. Like I can tell you that most of like my clients, 50% give up, and they just starting out, they give up starting out, and they don't know how things work, so they invest all this money, and then they don't even finish the project, and even the ones that start, then they give up in a year because they are not making the right margins or what they were expecting. So I think that's the main reason why we wanted to start this. um just so that, yeah, in a way where we could help people more like make the best of their investments and not having to go through these horror stories. Like I don't know if maybe you can make another video like we can make another video talking about all of these horror stories, because we
Yeah, I
have
mean,
a
I think
lot.
you have, because legally you work with a lot of our
Yeah.
clients. I mean, I think we can give one quick one quick,
Yeah, I just have
try to
so
think of like
many.
the,
Yeah, I have so many, but like for example, someone like finds a property, they put the money down, put the deposit. This happens a lot. They put the deposit down, they find the place, and then the place doesn't even exist. Or they find a place, they rent it, and after they've paid the deposit, they've paid everything, the owner says that they cannot do short-term rentals. Sometimes the police closes their places because they don't have
the right
the
permits.
right permits, so they lose like their whole money. Yeah, I have like this
Yeah,
happens a lot.
investing there is a minefield, basically. It's a minefield, and you're almost guaranteed to mess up. Probably, you're most likely to mess up initially, like in the process of finding it. But yeah, I mean, it's just, a really difficult market
Yeah.
to tackle. And yeah, that's again why we started this investment company, is by far the most efficient way to do things. We can't help everyone like every step of the way. Again, maybe they're not managing it correctly, not marketing it correctly. So yeah, again, this is the most efficient way that we thought of, that we can help give someone that wants to invest in Colombia a good return and do it in the most efficient way possible, giving everyone the best return possible. Because I mean, it sounds arrogant, but we do run everything. There's no one doing it better than us in Colombia. Like, it sounds arrogant, but it's the truth. We have the highest performing listings by far in Colombia, and I would go as far as saying in all of South America. And again, we don't want this to be just in Colombia. We are doing our next project in the U.S. And yeah, we're taking applications for that if you want to invest in that. Again, we think that's going to be even more lucrative than anything in Colombia, and you don't have the political risk, currency risk, some of those risks that you have in Colombia, you don't have with investing in the US.
And like from what you're saying, I understand that you're expecting this like thing in the US to be even better than what you've done in Colombia? Or like what are the returns that are you expecting or what can people expect from this?
Yeah, by far. I mean, I think we can pay back the initial investment in this new project uh, in 2 years, and it's a multi-unit project. So the overall return is going to be way better. It's essentially like we're doing like 10 villas at once. It's 10 separate units, and like the amount that we can charge per night for one of these, we'll just say small units. I think we're giving people can probably guess what we're doing. Small units is the same that we're charging per night for our 8 bedroom luxury villa that we spent a ton of money on. Uh, the overall nightly rate is about I would say the same that we can charge for this experience. So that's why it's so lucrative. That's why part of why we moved here too is to tackle this project, and definitely this is the hottest, most lucrative thing to do in hospitality right now.
Yeah, for sure. And so like why do you decide to invest your money on real estate or like these projects, short-term rentals, when you can just put your money in stocks and get a return per year?
I mean, it's way higher, the returns. Like, it's not even close. Like, if you put your money in the market, historically, you're getting 10% per year. This, we're getting cash on cash returns of, I mean, again, we're paying back that project in 3 years. And then from that point on, I mean, it's all cash. So, I mean, yeah, the returns are way better. Also, we build in equity to those projects. So, like, we took something that needed a renovation, spent 300K. I estimate we already built equity into that project anywhere from like $800,000 to $1 million in profit, and just equity. And what we did, we took something that was not managed well. They were doing Airbnb before with that, but it was priced as like a normal residential property, which is where a lot of the value came from, and it was actually zoned as commercial property that we can do short-term rentals. So yeah, we just wanted to give a overall like update in kind of a open format, kind of like podcast style. I'm gonna try. I can't promise anything because I've said that many times, to upload more frequently, but definitely I'm planning a lot of new videos. If you are interested in investing with us, there's a form in the link down in the description where you can fill out an application. We don't want to accept just like everyone, so that's why we have that form. We want to make sure that we're going to be a good fit. So yeah, you can fill that out, and if we feel like we could be a good fit working together, we would schedule a call. Also, if people want to reach out to you, how do they do so? I can add a link. Because some people do just want to do their own thing, which is fine. Or they want to do something maybe outside of vacation rentals, but you specialize in visas and also helping people open bank accounts, companies.
Yeah, investment in general in Colombia.
Yeah. Also with like the buying process,
Oh yeah.
if again they do want to go their own route of, or I mean, some people just want to like buy an apartment to live in down there too, and you also help with that whole process, like the setting the title, all that. So I'll link that down below too. And I guess one last thing is I'm relaunching the host hacker program that I had. It's a short-term rental boot camp program. So if you want to start doing Airbnb, it emphasizes on more arbitrage. So again, we have the investment thing, and that's for people with 100,000 plus in capital. But the thing is, a lot of people or most people don't have that kind of capital to start. So that's how I started with my Airbnb journey back in, I think it was what, 2018 or 2019. And I didn't have that much money to like go out and buy something or, I mean, even up until our last property, everything we did was arbitrage. So I started with arbitrage with, my first unit was a studio apartment, and I spent $500 because it was already furnished. So that's something that basically anyone can start. I mean, I think anyone can afford $500 to $2,000 to start this, and that's why I still have this program and relaunched it, kind of revamped it, is because, yeah, again, most people really don't have the kind of capital to get started, and it's a good way to get started. So you even have the capital just to kind of learn Airbnb. Um, and again, yeah, it's a cash flow heavy business. So, you know, yeah, say you don't have the capital, it's a great way to get started, start saving from those, what you net. I would say most apartments you can net minimum $1,000, but we aim that you go for like 2,000 plus per like any property that you pursue. That's kind of like the guideline that we set is you want to pursue like anything that has net profit around 2,000 per month. And yeah, I mean, it's a really powerful strategy. Again, that's what I started with, how I built everything up to this point to doing full blown construction projects. Even Casa that we did, that's still a arbitrage property that we have going right now that has paid off its investment probably 20x by now, and it's still performing really well. We still net basically a doctor's salary a year with that property. So this is still a great strategy. It still works even today in 2025 very well. Just got to pick the right markets. And yeah, I mean, Colombia is not the only market that we focus on. Actually, there are some even more lucrative markets. It could be in the U.S. Rio is a market that is by far more lucrative than anywhere in Colombia, and it's one that I still like kind of dream about going back and starting an arbitrage business because the competition there and where you can charge per night, there'll be like a apartment. It's horrible. It's like twin size bed, like nothing works in the apartment. They're charging like $3,000 a month for the apartment. So that's what that program focuses on is, finding which markets are good and that whole process of, pitching landlords and how to do the whole process of rental arbitrage. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video.